Here is the set build for the Bristol Varsity series. As you can see, each board was mounted onto a wooden frame, which was then fastened using these metal clips. Initially, we had nailed this, but then we did find we were having trouble, especially on this middle join, with them actually lining up on the front. So we introduced a few screws to hold the structure together tightly. There was still a few issues with the actual joins. I think if there was some more time, it's something that could have been reviewed. As you can see over here, where it's been fastened together. Each logo is lit up using LED strips. Initially we tried red, but then we found there was a lack of glow on it, so we ended up settling for a blue and red combination, as it does glow nicely on the back wall. Each of the university logos were made up by Lewis, mounted in the colours of their respective branding. So there's University of Bristol. The varsity letters were all cut out of acrylic using a laser cutter, with the actual main varsity lettering suspended using little dowels on the back there. LED strips are then fed through, drilling 14mm holes behind the lettering, and then just going through in each individual to make it stand out further. So that's the main structure of the board. I then managed to acquire some rolls of AstroTurf, which were then laid out across the floor, using 3 of these to cover the entire desk space. This does make a huge impact, as it really does avoid just having this standard studio floor look. Finally, we'll look at the desk. So this desk was used during the actual broadcast. For it, I remodeled an existing rectangular desk and cut in a semicircle shape. Initially, the reason for this was due to having 3 presenters, but now that we've only had 2, it just still felt quite natural, especially during the interview phase when 3 people were sat around. Otherwise, you had a very awkward balance of having 2 on one side, 1 on the other. I even put the skirting back on the edge as well. Then this painting a few bits of wood on the front, that was just nailed and secured into the legs that we recycled, just to give a flat front. I then decided on the idea of cutting a V further out of some wood, which then was used. We created some slats, one at the top there, one at the bottom and one on the other side. And once again, drilling holes into the wood and so fastening LED strips all down the back of it. So this way, the V glows onto the background, and I also had enough left to glow from the top of the desk as backlighting. You can see there when it threads through the top from the V, so it's taped to the V, the end of it, comes up through the top, runs along the top of the desk, comes back down, finishes down here. I've then had to cut a slit in the AstroTurf to run the cable under safely, back here, to which then it goes to the power source. So that's the entire set build for Varsity. So just to review it all again, we backed the board, we then fastened them together using various nails and screws and trying to avoid the bends in it as much as possible. Then each university logo was created and mounted, leaving 9mm of deepness so that we could put the LED strips, feed them through. The main varsity letters were cut out using acrylic laser cut. The actual main varsity text, we created little wooden dowels to make it pop out from the background, then feeding LED strips through the background. So you can see here when that's fed through. Plus this is just a bit of an interesting challenge to try and feed all that through. And then opting for the blue rather than red like the traditional varsity colours, just because red really didn't glow enough and the effect wasn't great. And then for the desk, just reviewing that once again, resurfaced a desktop, cut it into a semicircle, then finished off with a nice edge. Fastened some spare legs from another desk, then cut some wood to size for the front and the 2 edges which were visible. Around the back here, you don't actually see it during the set. And then fed the LED strips through, taping it to the back of this V, painted in both of the university colours and to the underside of the desk, finishing off with the AstroTurf and some rather stylish chairs. And also what should be further added to it, as well as that being the main set construction, there was green screen used at times. So very simple job, stretching it out. You can see here where the mark for the presenter was. So when it came to lighting, as well as having these lights up here to ensure even coverage for the back wall, so he would key out nicely, we used a variety of lights just to try and avoid any sort of glow on his face. For example, this light initially was on him, but it was casting a lot of glow from the back of the green screen, so we ended up having to move that one. So that's the camera position for that presenter. And finally, just going over the lighting I used on this actual rig, other than the LED strips. Mostly soft boxes. Did try using a few more Fresnels, but I found that it was casting a lot of shadows onto the AstroTurf flooring. So, a little breakdown of it. You can see here, you've got a few backlights, making sure they hit the presenters on the back of their heads to sort of pop them into the background. The through Fresnels also focused, 1 and 2 there, just to ensure they do get popped out the background, because using the white background is quite difficult. And then at the front here, 3 soft boxes, doubled over with scrim to get a really nice soft look, just to fill in those faces and remove any harsh shadows. And there is a sound cable from suspending a microphone for the sound department. So that was the Varsity set. I hope that little tour has been useful. The broadcast was very successful, and it's great to have seen the set on. And one little final note, as the one lighting change that you ever see in the set is how it starts. So it'll go down. And if I turn off the house lights as well, to this. So this is how the show begins. Nice glow around all the lettering, and then come the start of the show, all the lights come up and Varsity starts.